what I know about modern Guatemalan education is only what I have been exposed to here at CAS. And I would say that my expectations of the education in Guatemala were a lot different than the reality. And I think that's a good thing. The reality is better than my expectations were. My expectations were that people would be very uneducated, that because I was coming to a supposedly underdeveloped country, but developing country, the education would have been a lot poorer than it really is in terms of all of the basic criteria of education: reading, writing, mathematics, science, all of these things. And it turns out that it's not quite that way. And I'm glad, because there's a lot of modern, innovative, creative, educational processes that are happening even here at school. You know, we're on a campus where we have students from kindergarten all the way until college. And in a lot of ways, I think that says something about the ways in which innovative and creative methods of teaching are being used here in Guatemala. Though I think there's still a lot of work that needs to be done to improve the education system here.
Second question. What do you think helped Guatemalan education improve careers?
How would Guatemalan education improve careers? I think that there has to be a lot more focus on our goals. You know, and by that let me explain what I mean. To give you an example, in the United States, when people go through high school and go through college, there's sort of they always have this idea in their mind of what their goals are. You know, what the requirements are for doing a certain profession or for having a certain career. And I think that here, at least in my interaction with students and with professionals as well, there isn't so much of that focus on what the goals of education should be. The goals, in my opinion, are not to get straight A's or to achieve a certain grade or to memorize facts. The goals are to help you become a creative, critical thinker, an innovator in the 21st century who can solve problems on your own when you have left university. That's what the purpose of education is to create individuals who are capable of solving their own problems and solving other problems that no one has had before. So to help people become better at their career, we need to reorient the goals of education, of creating these kinds of people who can solve problems and are also democratic citizens. You know, we talked about John Dewey last year, if you remember. John Dewey was a philosopher who had this great idea about the purpose of education. He said that education is meant to create democratic citizens. And I think that has been lost. We've lost sight of that. Instead, education is too focused on benchmarks and standards and reaching certain sort of qualitative goals that don't actually mean anything for students, like passing standardized tests or getting an A on an exam. I don't think that's really important.
Number 3. How will you compare Guatemalan education to other countries you have been to?
Well, I've studied in the United States and in Great Britain, and I've been a teacher here in Guatemala, so I'll talk about those three. The United States is such a diverse country that it's hard to say how the standard educational experience in the United States is. I came from a background of Catholic school education, from grade school until high school. And when I went to university, I went to a private, small, very, very difficult, I would say, difficult private university that put a lot of emphasis on learning. And so when I came here, it seemed like I had higher expectations for students than they had for themselves. And what I'm trying to do is raise students' expectations for what they can accomplish to a level that maybe I was at in high school or university, where I thought that I could do anything with my education, with my knowledge. And it's really enlightening and liberating. In the UK, the educational system is a lot more focused on independent work, especially at the college level, but you see signs of it in high school as well, where students are doing, they're given an assignment with not as much instruction or not as much guidance, and they are doing work by themselves. And I think that's a pretty interesting educational model that Guatemala could benefit from.
Number 4. How will you describe Guatemalan education before you terminate?
You know, I can't say enough, Laura, I don't know enough to say. Before independence, so you mean before, what, 1821, when Guatemala became independent?
Yeah, before.
I don't know anything about Guatemalan education before 1821. Sorry.
5. What is one thing you will do to improve education?
My goal as a teacher, and I've thought a lot about this, is to inspire students to become creative, compassionate, and critically thinking individuals. The 3 C's, I call it. If a student is creative in his or her experiences and learning, then they'll be ready to tackle the problems that they'll be facing as adults in a new way that no one has ever thought of before, because that's what we need so desperately in our world, is people who can think differently. You know, education is actually not learning, but unlearning what you've been told. Unlearning all of the things that as a child, as a teenager, you've grown up with that make you the same as everybody else, that don't make you different. So education is a process of unlearning, and that involves creativity. Creativity is doing something differently from everybody else. So that's the first thing. The second thing is compassion. I want students to realize that we live in a world where we have to interact with other people, obviously, right? And not to just think that yourself, your brain, your life, and your family are the center of the universe, are the center of all that matters. Because that's not true. The best people are people who care deeply about the needs and concerns, freedoms, and rights of other people. So we need, especially in a world where we have so much injustice, so much hatred, and people are suffering so much, we need compassion. And the last thing is critical thinking. This goes hand in hand with compassion, because I think there are so many powers at work in our world that try to stifle us from thinking about the issues that matter most. Or when we do think about those issues, to think about the ways that they can be solved. And that involves critical thinking. So, you know, critical thinking is as basic as realizing that what's on television every week for some drama show isn't as important as what's happening in Syria right now. Syria in the Middle East, there's a civil war going on there. Critical thinking is being able to solve problems in a logical way. So it's everything from your experiences in your own life, personal experiences that you have you can deal with, to experiences on a large scale. And we need all 3 of those things. So I want students to be creative, compassionate, and